The top 10 Maico motorcycles you've probably never heard of. And we're not even going to talk about the Maico 700 or 620, as everyone knows about those bikes, and in fact you're watching one ride right now. This will be a top 10 list of the lesser known bikes, some production and some of them homemade. Number 10 is the Maico 660. This is my bike, and yes, I can put my bike on the list since it's my list. The Maico 660 was a sidecar engine sold in the early 1990s. Seems there may have been maybe 20 to 50 total made. There are no brochures, and searches will likely just lead to my bike. As far as I know, this is the only one in the world that was ever fitted into a dirt bike frame. In fact, I don't even know if there are any other original engines around. These were originally sold for sidecars. Number 9 is the Maico 545. These were made in 1994 and 1995, and there were only 2 imported into the United States. There are no brochures of these bikes, and they are really obscure. There was one of them on display at the Indianapolis Supercross in 2016. That's where these photos and videos are from. Number 8 is the Maico 750. Egbert Haas found out that there wasn't any restriction on 2-strokes entering the European ISDT for greater than or equal to 750 cc's displacement. He started with a Maico 504, and yes, Maico did make a 504 ISDT bike, but only very few of these were ever made. He then took a block of aluminum and cast his own cylinder and top end for 750 cc's. It may not have been perfect, but it worked well enough. Egbert was now up against motorcycle giant BMW, and he won the 1979 European Enduro ISDT. Looking back years later, he said, BMW had invested nearly $1 million in that race, and I've made do with my own construction. That was amazing. Number 7 is the Maico CR500. So this is a bike that I do not have much details on. Racer Stuart Cole in 1992 fitted a Maico top end to a CR500 bottom end. This essentially married the Maico porting with the CR500's crank, which the CR500's crank is likely going to be balanced differently and is going to be most likely lighter than the original Maico crank was. Number 6 is Maico 4-strokes. First, there are many examples like the XL440 where a Honda engine was fitted to a Maico, but also even Yamaha engines have been fitted to Maicos. There have even been weirder mergers of Maico bottom ends being put with 4-stroke top ends. However, there have been pictures of an actual Maico 4-stroke prototype from the factory in 1986 which were never released. The only official 4-strokes ever released under the Maico name was in the early 1990s when Lorenz Merkel, who owned Maico at the time, released a few models fitted with the Rotax 4-stroke engine. Number 5 is the all-wheel drive 1980 Maico 400. In the 1970s, the Maico 440 was dominant in the UK for enduro, so it's no surprise that a Maico 400 was chosen to create an all-wheel drive prototype for the British Army. Dave Watson created this all-wheel drive 400 in 1980, and it was tested for cross-country by the British Army. Number 4 are Maico Karts. There were a few people attaching Maico engines to karts. The first is a Maico 700 aka 685cc being fitted for actual racing onto an outlaw kart. So yes, the Maico 700 engine is being used for racing in various forms. The second one being built as a play kart is using a 1983 Maico 490 engine. Number 3, the Maico Flattracker. This is a 1981 Maico 490 in a night flat track frame built by Jerry Greer and sponsored by Maico. There are a few articles in Cycle News starting with April 1981 cover spot. The question was if the two-stroke could compete against the big four-strokes at the national level. The debut race with Rod Spencer as the rider made 4th in heat, 1st in semi, and 5th overall for the night. Sponsors included Maico Night Racing Frames, Rocky Cycle, Wheelsmith Motorcycles, ATK A-Track, Bellwright Oils, Carl Style Racing Tires, Dallas Baker Products, Buffalo Number Plates, Cosmopolitan Motors. The bike did not make reserve when it was for sale on eBay in 2016, where most of this information was gathered. Number 2, the Drysdale all-wheel drive, all-wheel steering Maico 250. In 2014, a strange experimental prototype went for sale on Australian eBay. This is Ian Drysdale's Dry VTEC 2x2x2. The Australian inventor created this monster back in the early 1990s, and it features hydraulic two-wheel drive and hydraulic two-wheel steering. Just to put into perspective some of the components on this bike, the pump used on the bike is typically found in Sabre jet fighters to operate the landing gear. I have additional link in the description to more information on this bike. Number 1, the Maico 2-stroke, 4-stroke hybrid. Laszlo Perez wanted to shake up the largest placement class with a Maico 490 bored out the 760cc. However, he wondered what would happen if he combined the 2-stroke engine, which is light and powerful, with a 4-stroke engine that has high torque at low revs. So he created this, the 2-stroke, 4-stroke combination. On the first stroke, the piston's upward movement will pull in gas oil mixture through the reeds into the crankcase to lubricate the crank bearings, just like a 2-stroke does. The second stroke, the piston moves down. The inlet diaphragm closes. At the same time, a second membrane is opened in the crankcase, and the downward push of the piston will suck the mixture into a sealed chamber, inlet valve, thus lubricating the valve chain, valves, and rocker arm. The third stroke, the piston moves up, pushing the exhaust out the previous combustion through the now open outlet valve. Stroke 4, the piston moves down and the inlet valve opens. The pent mixture is drawn into the chamber, into the combustion chamber. And on this first stroke again, while rising, the inlet valve closes and ignites the combustion. Also, it suctions the next mixture as mentioned before. So, there was your top 10. I'm sure there's other bikes like cafe racers, sprint cars, triples, scooters, and things like that you probably also have never heard of. But we only had time for a top 10. And so that was the top 10 Maicos that you probably have never heard of. So yeah, let me know below if you haven't heard of those before, or if you have. So, well, in any case, hopefully you enjoyed this little trip into the Maicos that are lesser known.